I'm Gaby. I'm so excited to be here today. I have lots of information to share with you. We have lots of recipes that we're going to make for this chicken fajita bowl. But first, I want to give you a quick introduction to me, give you a little bit of like a little lay of the land. My name's Gaby Dalkin. I write cookbooks and I have a food blog called What's Gaby Cooking. And I'm so excited to be teaming up with Albertsons to teach you guys this recipe today. My husband is here also. He's going to be moderating all of your comments. So if you have any questions, like Robin said, put them in the question box. He'll tell them to me. We can talk anything about this recipe, grocery shopping, food, any sort of kitchen tips and tricks as we go through this. And just fair warning, if you hear any weird like tree frog noises, we have a 5-week-old baby. And her schedule is not totally predictable, so we're hoping she sleeps through the whole thing, but she might make a weird noise or two. Just know that it's her. Anyways, I'm so pumped. This is one of my favorite recipes. It's kind of like a spin on a burrito bowl. It's a chicken fajita bowl. It's a little bit healthier, and this is one of those things that I make all the time, and I figured it's a great way to go into the long weekend. So if you guys want to like prep ahead, you can make it for dinner tonight. If you prep it on Monday for lunches throughout the week, you get it. Before we go, I'm just going to run through all of the ingredients. We have a ton of O Organics from Albertsons. By the way, Albertsons is known by many names depending on where you're from. Let's see if I can get these all right. I grew up with a Safeway. Obviously, I grew up in Tucson, Arizona. Right here in my neighborhood, I have an Albertsons, a Vons, and a Pavilions, like all within a 10-mile radius. Where you are, it could be Jewel Osco, it could be Acme, it could be Randall's, Tom Thumb. What am I forgetting? Shaw's, Star Market. Got them all, almost. But they all have these organic products. So let me just run through the ingredient list and then we're gonna get started. And like I said, ask any questions. First and foremost, we have boneless, skinless chicken breasts from the O Organics line. You could also use chicken thighs, no big, like they're interchangeable. Chicken thighs just cook a tiny bit longer. We also have O Organics chili powder. We've got some red pepper flakes, which I buy like literally 10 of these at a time because we go through them so fast. Ground cumin. And then we have some of the O Organic beans and the O Organics extra virgin olive oil, as well as the rice. So we're just going to get into it. Ready? Thomas, you should say hi to everybody.
Hello. we got our first question, not related to the recipe.
Okay.
We'll get through this one quick.
Lay it on me.
We made pickled vegetables the other day. Can you reuse the vinegar mixture or do we have to make it fresh each time?
No, you can totally reuse the vinegar mixture if you're making pickled onions, pickled jalapenos, pickled peppers, whatever it is. Once you take everything out of there, like let's say you bought like little cute Persian cucumbers or something, and you put them in there and then you ate them all, just throw more in there. You could throw red onions in there. You could do different things in the same pickling juice. It's making homemade pickles is one of my faves.
Could you make this recipe instead of chicken with turkey?
Yes. So let's get into the chicken and we'll talk about substitutions right away. So like I said, these are the O Organics boneless, skinless chicken breasts. They actually have a little rib meat. I'm just going to take these out and put them right onto a plastic cutting board. You'll notice I'm using a plastic cutting board because you should never put raw chicken, raw turkey, or raw fish onto a wooden cutting board because it is harder to clean and it's just not as clean, like sanitary.
What about everybody's favorite question?
What's everyone's favorite question?
Should you wash or rinse your chicken?
Oh. Should you wash or rinse your chicken? This is a great question. By the way, my hands are clean. I'm going to use my hands to just cut the chicken and then I'm going to wash them before we get on to the next thing. But should you wash your chicken? No. And same thing goes for your turkey when you're doing like Thanksgiving turkey or something like that. If you wash your chicken or your turkey, any of the whole birds, breasts, thighs, whatever, it actually splashes chicken juice, by lack of a better word, all over your sink, which is actually less sanitary. So no need to wash it. Any sort of like juice or anything on it is going to cook off when you hit it over the heat because, you know, when we're putting it in the oven, it's like 425. It's just as hot when we're cooking at stovetop. So you get the idea. So these chicken breasts, I'm just slicing into about probably 1/3 of an inch thick pieces. These are going to be the chicken fajita portion of this. And the question someone had asked, can you do this with turkey? For sure, you could do this with turkey. You could honestly do it with shrimp. You could do it with a ground turkey or a ground chicken mixture as well. It won't take quite as long to cook either of the ground, but you could make like ground chicken fajita bowls. Sounds delicious.
Why do you want to cut the chicken in uniform pieces?
Great question. Someone asked why you wanted to cook the chicken in uniform pieces. Because, what? Cut. What did I say? Cook. Close enough. Close enough. You want to cut them in uniform pieces because that's going to ensure that everything evenly cooks. It's the same when you're prepping vegetables, like when we get to the fajita portion of this, or the veggie portion of this. Every time you're prepping something, whether it's an onion, a garlic, an avocado, whatever, if it's in the same size pieces, it's all going to be easily incorporated. It's all going to cook evenly. And that's important because when you're cooking something like chicken, you don't want to overcook any of it. So you'll notice chicken's all in my bowl. I have my cutting board and my chicken knife is going into my sink. I'm going to wash my hands quickly, and then we're going to come back and use the other cutting board.
Is that corn on your cutting board, Gaby?
Yes, that is corn on my cutting board, and I'm going to teach you how to char it over an open flame. We'll get to that in a bit, but I love corn in my fajita bowls. I also love raw corn. A lot of people don't know that you can actually eat raw corn. I know I'm probably blowing a few of your minds. It's so good, and like come summertime when you can go into Albertsons or any of the other stores and get like really great fresh corn that's like in season from, I don't know, Iowa. Money, it's so good. Okay, so to the chicken, we are just gonna add some of the O Organics olive oil, give it a little drizzle. This is basically just a quick marinade. Then we have clean knife. We're gonna just slice a lime in half. The lime goes right in there. And just like, so you know, if you chose to make this marinade not in the bowl of raw chicken, you could actually use this as a dressing for other things. Like it would be a lime, olive oil, garlicky vinaigrette basically, and it would be delicious. Okay, to this, we're going to add a little chili powder. And I've tested this recipe 1 bajillion times. So if you don't like the heat, you can take the chili powder and reduce it by half. Same with the red pepper flakes. Keep the cumin as is though. Okay, so that's all in there. And then last thing we're gonna add into this is just a little bit of garlic. And if you've never smashed garlic before, this is what you do. You just take the blunt side of your knife, put it on top of the piece of garlic, and then hit it very carefully. Don't get your hand too close to the sharp part, and then you can just easily peel the paper off, and we'll give this a rough chop and throw it into the marinade. Any questions, babe?
Are there any measurements, or is this just kind of a wing it and go for it?
No, they're totally measurements. If you're cooking along with me, I believe you should have gotten the actual recipe in your email, but I'll tell you, for the marinade, it's 1.5 pounds of the O Organics chicken, 2 tablespoons of lime juice, 3 tablespoons of olive oil, a couple of cloves of garlic, and then a half a teaspoon of the cumin, chili powder, red pepper flakes, and then we're gonna hit it with a little bit of salt. If that isn't in your email, we'll email it to you afterwards. Or if you want to DM it to, if you're on Instagram and you DM me, I can send you the recipe as well.
Do you ever use a mason jar to shake up the marinade and then use the rest of the dressing?
100%. I love a good mason jar. It's a great way to make like a batch dressing, and then salt, and then just use it throughout the week. I actually do that every Sunday. I make a couple different dressings, put them in mason jars, and then put them in the refrigerator. And then since olive oil is not technically supposed to go in the refrigerator, before I use it throughout the week, I take it out for an hour, let it come to room temperature, and then either use it as a marinade or make it as a salad dressing. The other thing I will say, if you're doing something like that, if you're not using a mason jar, when you're making a salad dressing or this vinaigrette, if this was a vinaigrette, you want to emulsify it a little bit more. So you could do it all in the bowl before you add in all your greens, and just like whisk it in the bottom, and it's less dishes. Always all about the less dishes life, especially now that we have a baby. I feel like I'm just doing dishes and laundry all the time. Okay, technically this is supposed to marinate for an hour. Any amount of time from like 5 to 60 minutes is fine. You don't want to go too much over that because there is lime juice in this. So I'm just gonna put this off to the side and get rolling on some other prep stuff. So first thing, or second thing I guess we're going to do, is get some rice started. We have the O Organics white jasmine rice. If you saw my pantry, which I'm not going to show you today because really not that organized right now. Rice, quinoa, farro, all those kinds of grains are all in the same aisle as this, are great to have on hand when you're doing like rice bowls or grain bowls or anything like that. I wonder if my magazine, we just did a whole feature in my magazine about grain bowls. So like maybe you pick that up while you're at Albertsons as well. And then you just like go to the grain aisle and you buy all the things, rice, kamut, farro. Thomas's favorite is farro, so that's what he'll tell you to get.
Good segue into the next question. Do you have any tips or tricks for keeping leaf and meal plans fresh with all the cooking at home that
Great question. I'm going to answer that in 1 second. 1 cup of rice to 2 cups of water or chicken broth. We're actually also just going to add a quick drizzle of the olive oil so nothing sticks. And we're going to put this on the stove, ready to go. And I'm coming right back here.
Do you use minute rice with this?
Okay, so let's talk about hot tips quickly. Let me get this rolling. Somebody watching, remind me to check on that in a minute and give it a stir. I will forget. If you watch my Insta lives, you know I'm guilty of that. Okay, so the first, let's do the minute rice question because that's easy to answer. Of course, you can totally use the rice that you just buy in the store and pop in the microwave to heat up. No big deal. That's actually a great tip if you're in a pinch to get dinner on the table, like in 15, 20 minutes or something like that. But other tips that I find when we're trying to get dinner quickly is having a well-stocked pantry. So like taking a Sunday, going to the grocery store, or doing like the delivery or the pickup options through Albertsons they're amazing. You can like order everything online. Either it gets delivered to your house or you just drive into the parking lot and they load it into your car. Genius, if you ask me. Also great during these like COVID times. But having a well-stocked pantry and a well-stocked fridge is huge because, for example, Thomas and I last night were like, what do we make for dinner? And I just boiled off some, what did I do? Quinoa. I grabbed some salmon out of the freezer and then I made a quick miso dressing and that was it. So like, I feel like having like different sort of things on hand lets you be creative without actually having to spend an hour in the kitchen or something after you've had like a long day at work or on the computer or whatever it is. Why are you looking at me funny?
Nope, you're good.
Oh, okay.
What tips do you have on cutting peppers?
Okay. So I'm going to recut a poblano pepper so I can talk you through it while we're going. We have a poblano pepper, sometimes known as a pasilla if you're looking at the grocery store, labeled both ways.
What's the heat on it?
These are not hot. These are smoky. So if you're cooking for like little kids or something who might not like this flavor, you can omit this and just do extra bell peppers. I tend to love a poblano. Like I said earlier, I grew up in Arizona, so like we just love peppers. You know how those like peppers like that hang and you dry them and you see them, whatever. So you just cut down one side and then I like to just cut all the other sides just kind of like so. And that way this part, the seed part, you can discard. Same thing goes for a bell pepper. I keep it on its butt basically like this. And then you're just gonna shave off or cut off all the sides. And then you still have this little piece on the bottom right here. Just go ahead and trim that off too. You can eat it if you want to. It's good pepper, you don't wanna waste it. Same thing. There's really, everyone can hear me too. Sorry. If that's one of your like tics, I really apologize in advance. Okay. So now that you have just these like cheeks of the peppers cut off, you're going to just take them and you're going to run your knife carefully this way. And we're just gonna make like fajita strips. If you wanted to dice a pepper, you could do that as well. I'll show you how to dice one really quickly. You're just gonna cut it in a little bit of a bigger strip and then go in a uniform dice this way. The really beautiful thing about fajitas is it's very forgiving. So I'm just gonna throw the dice with the strips, even though it's not technically what my recipe says.
Do you ever pre-prep and freeze your vegetables for a quick throw together?
Oh, that's a great idea. I haven't, but I know my mom does. My mom like gardens sometimes. So when she like has an abundance of cucumbers or something like that, she'll freeze them and then whip them out in the winter when there aren't cucumbers in her garden. You totally could. I freeze more things like a cooked curried lentil or a soup or a bolognese or something like that. That way, when I'm like really in a pinch, I just take it out and thaw it. I don't even have to cook. Like I just have to worry about turning the microwave on, basically. Okay, so we'll run my knife through the last of the peppers, and then we'll get to the onions. The other thing I will say, just for those of you cooking at home, having a really nice sharp knife is helpful with like cutting and prepping things because it makes things go faster. But like, be careful, don't do anything too fast. I don't want to be responsible for anyone cutting themselves. Okay, next we have a red and a yellow onion. You could use either or. We're going to use one whole onion total. I'm going to use a little bit of both because I like the color. And we'll just reserve the half we're not using for the next time I make this recipe, which is honestly probably on Sunday.
Repeat the question, but what's the flavor profile difference?
Of the peppers?
No,
of the onions. What's the flavor profile difference of the onions? Honestly, not a lot. This is a yellow onion and a red onion. I think red onions are a little bit less sweet, but I do it mostly for the color. So if you just want to buy one while you're at the market, or you only have one at home, don't worry about it. If you have no onions at home and you have a shallot by chance, you could use that as well.
How many servings will this recipe produce?
This recipe, the question was how many servings will this recipe make? This is going to make about 4 servings, but it would be very easy. Let me get a spoon and check my rice. It would be very easy to size this up or down depending on how many people you're cooking for. Let's turn this down, get a hot mitt, and just give your rice a stir. If you guys are cooking along with me, give your rice a quick stir and then put the lid back on and reduce the heat to lowish so it can just start to steam. That's my favorite part about cooking rice is when you do a 2-to-1 ratio, it's just going to absorb all the liquid. There's nothing to drain like when you're doing pasta, and then you can just use it all in your rice bowl. Okay.
You cut onion without frying.
Well, so that is definitely, sorry. Forget that not everyone hear you, babe?
Yeah.
Oh, question is, how do I cut an onion without crying? 2 things. One, I went to culinary school 11 years ago, and I'm a professional chef now for the last 11 years. It doesn't faze me anymore. But 2, having a good knife is certainly helpful. I say that, watch, I'll start crying now because it'll be like a super strong onion. A sharp knife will help. When you're cutting an onion with a dull knife, all the liquid, like all the juices are released basically, and that's what makes you cry. If you have a sharp knife, you're not releasing all those juices, so you don't cry as often. Or you could be super extra like one of my girlfriends and get onion goggles, which are a fashion statement in and of itself.
Could you use leeks instead of onions?
Ooh, a leek fajita bowl. 1000% you could. Leeks are delicious. Oh, God, sorry. I forgot about that. The question was, can you use leeks instead of onions? Anything within the onion family is fair game. Leeks would work. You would saute those with the peppers. Scallions would work. You would just toss those in at the end. They don't need very much time. Shallots would work, or red, yellow, or white onions. Okay.
We had a comment. Someone was just saying you're doing a fabulous job of explaining your process.
Thank you. Someone said I'm doing a great job of explaining my process. I appreciate you. Okay, so we've got the chicken stuff prepped. We have the vegetable stuff prepped. We're going to do the rest of the prep after we start cooking. Let's go over to the stove, and I will, what? Now I'm crying. It was a strong onion. Okay, so let's make room. Thomas is going to transport you guys over here. I'm going to move our dinner bowls so they're not that close to the chicken. Okay, so how are we doing on picture? Looks good? Okay. We'll just stay over here and talk. We can chat in the interim. Just kidding. Okay. I am just going to turn on, I'm using a cast iron skillet, which is just like a large 12-inch cast iron skillet. I love a cast iron for fajitas because I feel like it retains heat really well and just gives everything a nice little char. So we're just going to start heating this up. And you guys know the tips and tricks for cast iron cooking, right? Not actually cooking, it's more cleaning. When you are done with this, you don't want to hit it with like super soapy water and like scrub it. You want to like let it cool, then put it in your sink and just scrub it out with water. And you put a little oil in at the end and heat it up. That's called seasoning it. It'll make your pan last forever. Okay, So what's your
favorite thing to make, and what do you like using the most?
What's my favorite thing to make with Albertsons products?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, sky's the limit. Go on what'sgabycooking.com and pick a recipe. You can literally make anything. They have the great thing about Albertsons and all of its affiliates, like markets, are they have everything. Like you don't have to go to 17 different stores to find everything. It's all going to be there. These chicken fajita bowls are one of my favorite. Any of the bowls I think are great. I'm having a moment with the bowls. Also because the leftovers hang out like so well in the fridge for a couple days. And now that we have a baby, like who has time to cook every day? But the other thing, like all these organic products are amazing. And you can get, means you can get organic like at a low price. Hold on one second. Let me grab some vegetable. Let me grab the corn and get that going at the same time.
So you're going to put the chicken in the cast iron skillet, right?
Yeah. Wait, one other thing I was going to say about organics is it's all non-GMO and USDA certified. So like I said, you're getting all the organicness of it. Like everything's organic at an affordable price as opposed to going to like a farmer's market or sometime, which sometimes can be expensive. Okay. I just need to go ahead.
Chicken in the cast iron skillet.
Yep.
Does the cast iron skillet need to be hot?
Yeah. Yes. So we're about to put the chicken in. The reason I didn't put the chicken in right away is because I'm waiting for my cast iron skillet to heat up. That was the question. It's hard for you guys to see this, but once your oil starts to shimmer, that's when you know it's hot. If you put your chicken in when it's not hot, it's not going to get like that nice crispy sear on it. It's just going to be like, I don't want to say it's rubbery. I'm lacking a better word, but like you want that crispy sear on it. So watch. This needs about another 15 seconds. And one other thing I will say, let's check on the rice quickly. Not done. Once the chicken's done, we're going to remove it to a bowl and throw the vegetables right in here. That's okay because the chicken, all the raw chicken has been cooked off. So nobody panic, just something to know. Okay, let's see. We'll use one chicken as a test. Hear that sizzle? Great. Okay, so let's throw in the chicken. It doesn't. The question is, can you use olive oil or vegetable oil? You can use both. You could use vegetable, or you could use either. You could use olive oil, vegetable oil, grapeseed oil, any kind of neutral oil is great. I just happen to have olive oil on hand at all times. Like I have basically 75 of these in my pantry because what if I ever ran out? Like how would the world continue? It would be very scary as a chef. I'm gonna leave this chicken in here because I don't want to overcrowd the pan. That's another thing you have to really think about when you're doing chicken. You never want to overcrowd the pan because then things just steam rather than sear. Same thing goes to when you're cooking mushrooms, just something to keep in mind. So let's put that over. Let's actually get rid of this for now. And I'm gonna grab just a little bowl to put back here to lean my chicken tongs on. Okay. While the chicken is cooking, let's talk about this corn situation. So as you can see, this corn right here has a husk on it already. Like it's just, no one's taking it off. You just want to carefully peel it off just like that. Get as much of these like silky parts off as you possibly can. Got it. Got it. You want me to show another one? Okay, let's do one more. So I'll do it so you guys don't see the sunlight from our windows. You just want to peel back the corn husk just like this, peel it off, and get as much of the silks off as you possibly can. The silks are like these little things right here. You just want to get as much of that off. So while the chicken is going, can you see this burner? I'm going to turn this burner on in the back. If you are uncomfortable doing this, you can also broil some corn in the oven to char it. But I am just going to take a clean pair of tongs and carefully put the corn right over the open flame. And we're just going to char this a little bit. The heat from either the broiler or the stove will burn off any of those husks. So you don't have to worry about getting those like silky husks in your recipe, just so you know. And as yeah, question is, could you use frozen corn? 1000%. And actually, sometimes speaking is hard. They sell frozen charred corn. So if you see that at Albertsons or Safeway, Bond, you name it, pavilions, grab it, because then that's one less step that you get to avoid making at home, and it's another quick shortcut from the store. Yeah, like if you don't have a gas stove and you have an electric stove, look at me with 2 tongs. I feel like I'm working in a restaurant. See, look at this. How great, like that's exactly what you're looking for. So if you get those char marks, give it a quick toss over, like turn it over onto the other side and let it keep going. 100%. The question is, would you ever do your peppers this way? Not for this recipe because the peppers wouldn't really be fajita style, but if you ever want to roast peppers and like make your own rather than getting them from the jar, this is a great way to do that. With the peppers, you would put them in a bowl and cover them with plastic wrap at the end to let them steam. So you could pull off the charred portion of the skin and then just use the roast pepper part. Okay, so these are almost done. You'll notice that I flipped all the chicken over. So now all the raw chicken parts are gone. I'm going to use these tongs to move the chicken out because these are now clean and that's clean. You get the idea. So we'll just let these cook a little bit more. And then we'll throw the vegetables in. These look great. Let me hit this with a tiny bit of salt. And that was just kosher salt. Let's remove these and put these other ones on. I like cooking with kosher salt. Like I use it pretty much for all savory recipes. If you want to do like a fine sea salt for baking recipes, totally get that. And that's a great idea because it blends in easier. But I use a kosher salt. Any brand that you'll find at Albertsons is totally fine for savory. Okay. Give these a quick swirl. I mean, the burner for the corn, the question was what temperature is the burner on? Both burners are on high. You want the burners on high when you're trying the corn just to like get it in there, hit it with the quick heat, and then be done with it. And for the fajitas, you want it over high heat as well. So it gets that sear. Like, look at this. Look at this right here. See how that's like nice and golden? How does that look? Better? You have to black out these windows one time. Okay, so these are looking great. You can see everything's getting that nice sear from the cast iron. You also don't have to use a lot of oil with the cast iron because when it's seasoned properly, you don't need it. So I'm just going to remove the chicken. You'll notice that when I put the chicken in, the lime juice and the garlic and the olive oil and the seasonings that were in the marinade, I threw it all in here as well. Like no shame in that game. You want that extra flavor. Okay, so let me grab the peppers in a bowl and the onions. 1 second.
Are you going to reuse the oil?
Yeah, so everything that's in here, there's like still some chicken bits, there's still some garlic, and there's a little oil. It's all staying in there. It's just extra flavor. And honestly, I want those like crispy black bits from the bottom of the pan that are like, they're like past brown. They're like almost burnt. That's what a fajita is. Like you want all that delicious flavor. So just toss all these up. I took the chicken off while it's cooked. I would cook your chicken all the way through. It is going to go back in this mixture in a little bit. So technically you could keep cooking it, but you don't want to have a little bit of raw chicken with you don't want to do that. Like cook your chicken through it in its entirety, and then we'll proceed. Let's check. Great question. That's hot. Let's move. Okay, so let's check on the rice. Ooh, the rice is perfect. Okay, so I'm going to leave the lid on, turn the stove off, and let's move back over to the main island so I can prep everything else.
Another question, was any seasoning added to the vegetables before putting them in the pan?
No, the question is, did I add any seasoning to these vegetables? I did not because the chicken's so seasoned. You totally could. Like, let's just hit these with a little bit of the red pepper flakes and the chili powder and the cumin that we used earlier. We can throw a little bit of that in. I like that idea. More is more always in my world. So we'll just throw a little bit of this in. I'm just seasoning on the go. I did a half a teaspoon of all three of those plus salt on the chicken. I probably did a fourth a teaspoon of everything and the peppers. You don't need it. It's just extra, but it's the holiday weekend. Live it up a little. So just give these a toss.
Less follow the recipe exactly and more kind of.
Yeah, I get it.
Work as you go.
The question was, is my cooking style a little bit more like loose and off the cuff? After I've developed, so here's the deal. When you're developing recipes for a living, you can't cook off the cuff. Like when I wrote all three of my cookbooks, any of the recipes that go on my blog, anything like that, all those recipes, this one right here, everything gets tested 5 to 6 times minimum, because I never want someone to like go home, spend $20 on ingredients and for it not to work. Like I feel very strongly about that. And my culinary school teacher like ingrained that into my brain basically. But once I have developed a recipe like this chicken fajita bowl, which I've been cooking for honestly for years, I'm a little bit more off the cuff because I know if I add a little extra cumin or a little extra red pepper flakes or whatever it is, it's no big deal. Okay, so we have chicken over there. Veggies are going to keep cooking for a few more minutes. I'm going to add the chicken in there and just keep everything back on the stove in a sec. The rice is done. Let's get into the toppings. Let me grab some bowls and we're going for it. Okay, so what should we do first, Thomas? Should we make guacamole? Should we drain some beans?
Let's do guac. You want to crack that window for me first?
Sure. Okay, Thomas's like greatest fear, you guys, is to set a fire alarm off during one of these lives. We do these every Monday night on Instagram. And back in the day at our old condo, we used to set it off every Monday night. And I think he has like PTSD.
I feel like we set the alarm off.
You're right. It's best to just be safe. Okay.
Question for you.
Tell me the question.
When it comes to grocery shopping, what tips do you like to share? Like, is the Just For You program something that's helpful in planning or saving during shopping trips? Or like, what are your best shopping?
Well, you guys know, all of you are familiar with Just For You. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here because, excuse me, got that smokiness from the poblano in my lungs. You wouldn't be here if you weren't part of Just For You. So I love it because there are all sorts of incredible rewards and you get to do cool things like this. Like how fun would it be if we could just did like a cooking class once a month? I feel like we would all learn so much throughout the year. But those kinds of perks are amazing. And you can take advantage of all the other things Albertsons has to offer, like the pickup, bingo, and the delivery options that we talked about earlier. Like honestly, if you came in late and you missed that when we were talking about it, that's amazing. The fact that you can take advantage of those kinds of programs is great. I should tell you how I'm opening an avocado. Did you see what I just did? I took my knife and I ran it around the side, and then I'm just going to take this part of my knife, nick the pit, take it out just like this, and then have like a paper towel or something handy where you can easily take that off. I like to tell everybody that I think it was on my first book tour. It was probably like 10 or 8 years ago. I was doing this on live TV with a brand new knife because I forgot all my knives. So I like bought a knife at the grocery store the night before and sliced my hand open on camera. So like, do as I say, not as I do.
What's your Instagram account?
What's Gaby cooking? WHATSGABY cooking, no G at the end. Instagram cut me off back in the day.
Who didn't hear the question?
Oh, that's my Instagram account. Tom is giving me dirty looks for not repeating the questions. Okay, so once you have the pit out of the avocado, you are just going to take your knife and score it like a checkerboard. Carefully. Don't cut through you don't want to cut through the avocado skin. That is when you run into live TV issues like I did when you cut yourself open and then you have 2 minutes left on air and you have to just hold the avocado and somehow make it work. Honestly, it was some of my best work, I will say. Okay, so we're just going to slice this up and get a spoon. Excuse me. Tell me.
Appreciate you doing this. Greetings from New Hampshire.
Hi from New Hampshire. Thank you for your sweet comment. I would love to do more of these. I think they're really fun. Okay, I have a spoon. We're going to finish on the avocado. I put the chicken back in with the peppers. We don't need to move back over there. You'll just see I'm just kind of giving these all a zhuzh. And I'm going to turn the heat down and just let those sit. I'll show you the peppers. They have this really beautiful char on them. Very into it. Okay. Once these are scored, just like this, we are going to take your spoon and just use it just like this to get out all the avocado. Like literally no avocado left behind. That and no carb left behind is basically my life motto.
Do you leave the pit in your guacamole?
I do not. The question was, do I leave the pit in my guacamole? I do not leave the pit in my guacamole. I believe it is an old wives' tale in my mind, but I do put lemon and lime or just lemon or just lime in the guac. So that keeps it from browning. For example, check this out. I made this guacamole literally at 8 a.m. this morning. It's like barely brown and it's been out for, I can't do the math. How many hours was that? I don't know the answer. Whatever. Yeah. What?
7 hours.
So thank you, Thomas. Okay. So we've got some cubed up avocado in there. We are just going to hit this with a little pepper. We're going to season it with some salt. Again, kosher salt. And then I'm going to add a little bit of lime. Just like that. And if you want to be super extra, you can put in a little lemon. You don't have to. It's a little hot tip. When I first started my blog, I was known as the girl obsessed with guacamole. So I just like to put my own little spin on things. And honestly, it's delicious. Okay. To this, you could add chopped up tomatoes. Let's just show you quickly how to run through a tomato if you've never done this before. This is just a regular tomato from Albertsons. You are just going to take your knife and cut the sides off very similarly actually to the pepper. You want to leave the inside intact because that's all the like juicy part. You don't need that in your guacamole. No, any sort of seeds that are still left in there like this, for example, you just kind of spoon it off and put it away.
How's everything going over the stove?
Great. Everything on the stove is done. It's all off. It's just still hot and sizzling. That's why you hear it behind me. Now it's off. Okay, so then you just take your knife and run it through and you give it a little quick dice. One thing I want to add, if you're going to add jalapeno, onion, tomato to your guacamole, all fair game. You want to mash up your avocado before you add that in there so you don't mash the onion and the tomato and such like that. So let's do that. Let's grab a fork. And you're just going to take the back of the fork, like the tongs portion, and just smash up the avocado. And I like mine like half chunky, half smooth. So don't feel like you need to make it like perfectly smooth. Like don't throw it in the food processor or anything like that. You want the chunks. So let's just get this nice and chunky. We're probably going to have to add a little bit more acid to this in the form of the lemon juice and the lime juice. Solid. Okay.
Is the lemon lime for taste or just browning?
Taste and browning. The question was, is the lemon and the lime juice for taste or browning? It's for both. And it's delicious with both. It gives it a little bit of like, you need both if you ask me. Good? She coughed?
Yeah.
The little baby?
Little baby.
Oh man, we got some poblanos in our little child's lungs. Really she's 5 months old. Might as well start her off young. 5 weeks. Got to start her off young. She has lots of flavor to experience in life. Okay, so I'm also going to throw in a little bit of jalapeno. Got some poblano in my husband's body too. Smoking everyone out. And I'm actually just going to skip adding any onions to this because we have so much onion in the fajita mixture, but you could add red or yellow onion to this if you want. Okay, so we have 12 minutes left. Oh my gosh, you guys, we have to roll through this. We only have a few more minutes. So we've got guacamole. We have rice. We have cilantro, black beans. Okay, last thing. We have the O Organic black beans. And I am just going to take my can opener And then here's, can you see the sink, Thomas? Oh, great. Okay, so let me just walk you through how I prep beans for this recipe. Because when you buy the when you buy the organic, you don't have to actually cook them, which is a huge time saver if you ask me. I'm just going to drain them. You could do this in like one of those like colanders or something. And I'm just going to rinse them with a little water and get off all the sudsy stuff on top. And you're ready to roll. Okay, I'm gonna put this right here. Let me clean up a little bit, and then we are going to assemble and eat. Okay.
Someone is asking about the brown spots in the avocado. Can you eat that part? Should you cut it out?
Great question. You can eat it. If it's not like so brown, the question is, can you eat the brown parts in the avocado? Yes. If it's like super brown and like kind of gross, just like pick that part out with a spoon. Otherwise, yes, fair game to totally use it. Okay, let's see if we can bring everything over here so I can show it to you before we assemble. Okay, let's pick up this.
Can you rinse the beans besides draining them?
Can you what?
Can you rinse the beans besides draining them?
The question is, can you rinse the beans besides draining them? I don't know if I understand.
Maybe instead of draining them? Or does that rinse the beans by draining them?
Yeah, you do what I did. You just take the beans out, you put it in like a colander or something like that, and then you put water on top of it to get all the sudsy out. Then you're good to go. Okay, let's assemble a bowl. Let me get a clean bowl. And then we'll take any last minute questions. So here we go, fajita bowls. We have a pair of tongs. Where did they go? Okay.
Would you season and warm up the black beans?
You could warm up the black beans if you wanted to. Someone asked if you could warm up the black beans. I think everything is like, this is already warm from when I cooked it earlier. The fajitas are gonna heat everything up, so you don't have to. It'll kind of just warm up on its own. But if you would like to warm them up so everything's piping hot, have at it. I also used to take these for lunch when I worked in an office back in the day. So like everything was cold then. So bottom of the bowl, we have some rice. On top of that, we are going to add some veggies and some chicken. Can you see all those nice brown bits on the poblano peppers and the onions and stuff? We're gonna add a couple slices of the chicken. To that, we're also gonna add some black beans. And like someone had asked earlier, if you had like tips and tricks for prepping ahead, if you did all this very leisurely throughout the day, you could assemble this meal in like no time. It's also one of those things that you could have your family kind of do it themselves. So everyone feels like they're like involved in their meal. And then to this, we are just going to add a little bit of guac. I mean, that was a lot of guac if you ask me. And then over here, I have some fresh cilantro I'll throw on here. And then last but not least, let's hit it with a little bit more lime juice. Perfect. All right, I need a fork. I can't just make this for you and not eat it. If anyone, oh, the corn, you guys, you forgot the corn. Grab a thing of corn. Let's talk about this really quickly before we run out of time. Where are we at? The question was, where's the margarita? I'm upset I don't have one. Give me a few hours. It's only 3 p.m. here. I still have a little work to do when this is over. Okay, let's run through this really quickly before we try it because we're running out of time. We do? Okay, great. If I didn't know if we were like gonna get cut off at 3 p.m. and then all of a sudden all of our screens just go black and it's over. If you have a corn on the cob like this, take your knife and just very carefully run it along one of the cheeks of the corn and take off the kernels. And then you rotate it. Do the same thing all the way around. Ta-da! And then this you can chuck or use to make a corn stalk or something like this. And the corn just goes right into your fajita bowl. And like, God, I love corn. It's so good. I can't wait for summer where it's just like, you know, when you like walk into Albertsons at the end of summer or in the middle of summer and it's just like corn everywhere. That is what I strive for in life. I can't wait. My earbuds just made a noise. Does that mean they're almost gonna die? perfect timing, I guess, because we're almost done. Okay, let's see if we can get everything in one bite. We've got peppers and guacamole and some cilantro and corn and chicken. I want more guacamole. Mm. Mm. You guys, that's so perfect.
You want to show a close up?
I mean, my food styling skills today have not. I already ate some of it, so I ruined part of the food styling. But if you look at the recipe on my website, it's much prettier than that when I actually like take 20 minutes and style it before dinner. That doesn't actually work when you have a baby anymore. Okay, any last minute questions? Lay it on me. I'm gonna get a paper towel and wipe my hands up quickly.
How long will this last?
Okay, great question. Someone asked how long this will last in the fridge. I would say all the components, with the exception of the guacamole, will last 4 to 5 days. The guacamole, I would probably err on the side of making fresh every 2 days if you were adding it for lunch. And if you were taking this to the office or something, if you were taking it to the park or whatever, I guess you wouldn't heat anything up at the park. But if you were taking it somewhere where you need to heat it up before you eat it, heat everything up before you add the guacamole. You don't want to add the guacamole and then throw the guac in the microwave. That's weird. Anything else?
You're going to use some of these ingredients to make another dish as like leftover.
Ooh, enchiladas, like regular enchiladas. The question is, what would you do with the rest of the ingredients if you wanted to make something? What you could do, you could make enchiladas. You could actually use all these same ingredients if you wanted to. Like, for example, if I wanted to use the chicken, I could just shred it up and make enchiladas with it. You could make like a skillet quinoa bake or something like that. Toss everything with some quinoa, smother it with some cheese, throw it in the oven for 10 minutes to melt the cheese. Gosh, sky's the limit.
So I think everyone got your cookbook, right?
A lot of people got a copy of my cookbook. Yes.
What is your what should the one thing people make from it?
Oh, the question is, what's the one recipe to make in my cookbook? That's like asking me to pick a favorite child, which I actually have right now because we only have one. But like, there are 125 recipes in my other babies. I don't know how to pick a favorite one. In the last book, we've been making the caramel marshmallow brownies quite frequently, which are amazing. You can't open the book, pick a page, you can't go wrong. I'm super proud of the one you guys have. It's my second to most recent baby besides our actual human baby.
What's your pro tip for picking out avocados?
Pro tip for picking out avocados was the question. This is a great question while we're actually can see each other. When you're at the store, if you need to have the avocado that day, you want the avocado to feel like this part of your hand. If it's rock hard, take it home, put it in a brown bag with some bananas to ripen as fast as possible, or an apple. But if you need to do it that day, you want it to be like this. I prefer to go when I'm at Albertsons, I buy rock hard avocados. I do this like every 3 to 4 days when I'm there. And then I let them ripen on my counter. That way they ripen at home. There's no other person like manhandling them, like Susie, who was in aisle 2 before and then like just took all the avocados and then decided which one was soft. That way they just make themselves right at home on my counter and ripen here. And putting them with the apple and the banana is really helpful because the natural gas that those two fruits give off ripen the avocados even faster.
Where can we get your cookbook?
Question is, where can you get my cookbook? You can get it anywhere cookbooks are sold. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it from small booksellers. You can get it at Barnes & Noble. It's really pretty. And there's a picture for every recipe, which I think is very important in today's world. What else?
That's all I've got so far.
Okay, so let's wrap it up. I think that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Don't forget, okay, go ahead.
As a new mom, how has your at-home cooking routine changed?
As a new mom, how has my at-home cooking routine changed? Well, I've taught Thomas how to do a lot of things so he can do things while I'm breastfeeding Poppy. That's her name. But we're really into quick meals these days. So like anything I can throw together in 15 minutes while I have time is fair game. Okay. Well, you guys, look at what you got for just being part of Just For You. Like, we just got to spend an hour together making chicken fajita bowls. I hope everybody makes this over the weekend. Take advantage of the delivery, the drive up and go, the pickup from Albertsons. It's amazing. They're incredible offerings that they're doing. And maybe we can do it again next month. Is that it? Okay. Thanks, guys. Happy President's Day weekend. It's a long weekend. Bye.